middle 2010, my business was taking off. The company I was running at the time had gone through a really rough patch in 2008-9, but now had bounced back with some key moves in our strategy and some innovative products. And so 2010, we're taking off. And I knew that I needed a coach. I'd had lots of coaches at different points about different areas of my life. And I didn't have a business coach that was appropriate for the scaling work that I was trying to do at the time. Anyway, so I called an old friend who knew a lot about scaling companies and scaling coaches and that kind of thing. And I said, listen, I was riding my bike home from work at the end of the day. I would often commute on the bike to get a little fitness in at the same time. So I'm riding my bike home. I'm thinking about the thing, and I call this old friend on the phone while I'm paddling up the hill, and I'm huffing and puffing. I live above sea level, and my office was down at sea level. So I'm paddling up the hill, and I'm thinking about my problems. And I call this guy, and I say, hey, listen, I think it's really time for me to get a scaling coach. And so I described the situation and what was going on and the growth and all that we were dealing with at the time. And he said, well, how big's your revenue? How big's your team? That kind of thing. I relayed where we were at that moment, which wasn't very big. And, I had less than 100 people in the corporate staff, less than 50, in our main office. And I had several factories going and some things like that. And I was growing at a fast clip. And I had all kinds of new problems with financing and problems with systems and problems with staffing and people. And our strategy would need to continue to evolve, even though we'd produced the kind of the core strategic breakthrough and had upgraded some of our things. So I called it that, and he's like, well, listen, we don't really have anything. I'm not aware of anything that fits your situation at the time. And so I think you should keep focusing on this. So do you have a daily huddle? I was already doing a lot of the scaling up things. At the surface level, I had metrics and dashboards, and I did a quarterly plan, and I had annual strategy, and, I had all kinds of things like that I was already doing. But I knew fundamentally I needed a coach because I was starting to hit new areas and things like that I hadn't done with this particular company before. And so I reached out, and they just wasn't anything for me. In the next little bit, I would go on to make a number of fundamental mistakes that as a coach today, I know that I could have helped someone like me prevent. We had metrics that weren't balanced. So we put too much emphasis on one thing and we had problems in another area, and we weren't paying attention to where things were out of balance. And that created an issue. We had issues where key processes weren't being updated, and the processes and the functions weren't well covered. I needed an operations person, but I didn't know who and how to develop within the anyway, there's a whole bunch of problems around people and around execution and around our metrics and the funding, even with some of the basic strategy in place. And I really wish that I had that at the time. We went through several periods of growth in that time, but multi-million-dollar mistakes were made by me because I didn't have a coach. Anyway, that lesson, that experience has been really helpful. And at a number of times as a coach now, I've worked on making the work that we do available to companies at different sizes. So I've been particularly focused on innovating our approaches to delivering scaling up. So it's not just for big companies, but even for companies, say 10 to 100 employees, like we were then, and like you might be, and 1 or 2 to 20 million, that kind of range. That is not often typical. Usually people are often above that. So anyway, that's kind of the approach. And I think, whether you work with someone like us or someone else, I think it's really critical that in every area of life, at every time, that you have coaches, advisors, people that can help you continue to navigate and level up, because the things that got you here might not get you to the next place in time. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I hope it gives you some pause to reflect and think about what kind of a coach would make a difference right now. What kinds of things. If you want to know about ours, go to scalingcoach.com. We've got programs that meet as often as every week, helping you to grow and scale your business from every price point to suit kind of things. We've packaged our engagements in lots of different ways. Hope that's helpful. Talk to you again soon. Keep scaling.